A pretty tarnished platter, James said soberly. That's the problem with these days of mass communication. When mud's thrown, it splatters all over the world. But I'm free. She linked her arm with James's as they turned away from the table and started toward the courtroom door. Stop worrying about me. I'm a survivor. If my acting career's down the drain, I'll find another career. If Ben's big brother will let you, James said. Sabin Wyatt's one of the world's financial heavyweights, and judging by the way he stared at you during the trial, I got the distinct impression he wanted you locked up and the key melted down and thrown into the sea. He's not going to like this acquittal. Mallory tensed at the memory of Sabin Wyatt's grim face in the courtroom yesterday. She had never even seen Ben's stepbrother until the trial, and yet he had been in the courtroom every single day since it had begun. That publicity-shy Wyatt was willing to come out of seclusion to see his stepbrother's wife tried had served to create even more of a feeding frenzy among the paparazzi. The presence of Sabin Wyatt, one of the richest men in the world, brought a touch of mystery and golden luster, the only ingredients absent in the proceedings. She could have done very well without those particular ingredients. The first time she had seen Sabin Wyatt across the courtroom, it had been like a physical shock. The force of his personality overwhelmed everyone around him, and she had felt panic. He had met her gaze directly, demanding her attention, demanding... what? She had hurriedly turned away and said something inane to James to escape from answering that demand. There was no escape. She had felt those cool, gray-blue eyes fixed unceasingly on her, and with every day of testimony she had grown more conscious of his silent intensity. She had the odd feeling he wanted her to be as aware of him, that he was willing her to be even more conscious of him than of this trial that could cost her her life. The instinct was totally illogical, but then so was the compulsion that had driven her to glance at that sixth-row seat when she first came into the courtroom. She suppressed a shiver as she realized how disappointed she had been when he hadn't appeared in the courtroom today for the verdict. She should have been grateful to be free of him. Maybe these weeks of strain had turned her into one of those kooks who develop a relationship with her captors. I've never even met the man. He and Ben weren't close, and he was out of the country for the entire length of our marriage. James looked relieved. Maybe I was mistaken. I sure as hell hope so. You don't need Wyatt against you. She nodded in complete agreement. Sabin Wyatt wielded more power than many heads of state, and he wasn't shy about exercising his clout. She knew that Ben had both admired and feared his stepbrother. That ambivalent love-hate relationship had been characteristic of Ben, she thought sadly. I'm not going to be around to antagonize anyone. As soon as I get back to the apartment, I'm going to pack and get out of New York. Where are you going? She smiled crookedly. How do I know? I'll get on a bus and get off when the mood strikes me. Any place is bound to be cheaper than the Big Apple. Then I'll get a job and wait for the world to forget me. You're not easy to forget. That's why our eager Beaver district attorney latched onto you with both hands. A chance to score with Wyatt Enterprises, and a victim who has a face as haunting as the Mona Lisa's. As they moved down the crowded corridor toward the front entrance of the courthouse, James's hand protectively cradled her elbow. You'll let me know when you get settled? Gerda will have my head if I let you go without keeping tabs on you. She nodded. You and Gerda have been wonderful to me. Tell her I'm sorry I can't wait to say goodbye in person, will you? I'll tell her. James stopped at the front entrance and made a face as he looked through the glass doors at the long flight of stone steps leading down to the street. Brace yourself. Your taxi's at the curb, but there are 3 TV cameras and at least 10 reporters on the steps. It'll be like running a gauntlet. Her gaze followed James's and she involuntarily flinched. The reporters were milling around like restless tigers waiting for their prey to appear. She squared her shoulders and forced a smile. Wish me luck. Always. James's hand gently tightened on her elbow. I'll try to run interference while you go, but we may not be able to pull it off. He paused. Remember,